Hey, it's just me and you here, so I gotta ask you. Remember that time when you shooed away your kid because your phone pinged and you just had to answer? Or that time you missed their assembly because you had a webinar scheduled instead? Or worse, that time your kid didn't even cry when you told them you'd miss their game because they already expected it? Yeah, we've all done it. And to avoid the parent guilt, we probably gave ourselves a pass, saying, it's just this one time, or I'll be there at the next one. But here's the deeper question. Are we accidentally perpetuating a cycle and an experience we had with a parent who was always working and who would buy us stuff to show love rather than just being there for us? You can already tell this is a really different episode, and it's 100% worth a listen. Today, George Rivera, the author of Buy Back Your Time Formula, joins me to share his personal story and how his dad's deathbed statement changed his life. So much so that he overhauled his work habits, sold a business, and started a new one, helping 7 to 9-figure business owners realize and be present for what's most important in life, not missing it. George is a marketer by profession and understands deeply all the hats you're required to wear as an independent business owner. But if you end most days wishing you had more time, feeling guilty about not being present with family, or shoving down sadness that you're missing out when it comes to your kids, this episode is all the help you didn't know was available. This is your first step toward being a more available parent for your kids and feeling more of a balance between business owner and the family first parent you want to be. Welcome to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. I'm Virginia Elder, founder of Podcast Abundance, where we help you use podcasting to market your business, to increase your authority, to get more eyes on your practice, and to capture leads for your business. If you're an investment advisor, tax strategist, business finance sleuth, or wealth management professional who wants your podcast to actually support growth, not just create content, you're in the right place. I made the podcast conversion blueprint just for you. It walks you through exactly how to turn your listeners into clients using a simple framework you can apply right away. The link is in the show notes. Here we go into today's episode. George, thank you so much for being here with me today. Go ahead and lead us straight in. How did you get to be this expert about time management? Did you have this disastrous time management situation that you fixed, or how'd you get here?
Yeah, I have to sort of go back to the beginning to really get to the answer, but it starts back in the late 80s, early 90s. So I was in like middle school, high school, and I played in about 40 basketball games. I was decent, not amazing, not horrible, but worthy of having a little fan club, I would say. I get better the older I get. And out of about 40 games that I played in, my dad only went to one of those games. And it was kind of a bummer. I remember like I'd score a basket or even do something, step out of bounds or something. And, every son needs the approval of their father. And I remember looking at the stands and crickets, the empty stands, nobody's there. And then like my friends and teammates, they'd score, and then their dads are on the sidelines cheering them on and giving them, their Gatorade or pat on the back. And I remember looking at another dad who was like cheering on his boy, and I was like, I wish that was my dad. And that would have like devastated my dad, because he was a good man. He was a medical doctor. He was a hard worker, great provider. We had like nice homes and cars and trips to Europe every summer, and my friends always like envied these cool toys that I had, and so that was part of my identity. That's what I bring to the table. It's like you get to hang out with George and his cool toys. And then fast forward 20 years. This is now 2015, so 10 years ago. My dad's entering his 40th year of medical practice. He's 67 years old. And his parents, my grandparents, had just passed away a couple years prior in their mid 90s. And so that's a good run. Sign me up for that. They passed away in their sleep and healthy, or, of old age, mid 90s, but no big complications. So I'm like, yeah, that's a good way to go. And so my dad's thinking, hey, gearing up for the next third of his life, or the last third of his life, because, again, he's 67. But then he got diagnosed with cancer early in that year of 2015. And it was like a 6 to 9 month diagnosis is what they gave him. Basically, like towards the end of his life, the last 2 weeks, he told me, these words that essentially changed my life. He said, "Don't miss Leo's games. I miss too many of yours." He said it just like that, pretty much like deathbed confession style. And it hit me in a couple of ways. First way was like, holy cow, like those middle school, high school games that he missed, like he really cared about that. Because like as a kid, you don't know how to process that. I remember thinking like, I'm just loaning my dad out to the world to make it a better place. He was a doctor, a lifesaver. You're just figuring out ways to cope. But no, he really cared about that. So that was special. I never like had to seek for him to ask for forgiveness or anything like that. But that was like an awesome thing to realize. And I thought I'd suppress that emotion and it just bubbled up. So that was interesting to see that. And I'm thankful for that. And then the other thing was like, holy cow, I'm my dad all over again. Like I'm doing the nice homes, nice cars, trips to Europe every summer, but essentially like missing important moments for my family. And at the time, my son Leo, that he mentioned don't miss his games, was 10 months old. He was there present with us. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm already missing, like, he was a kind of an early mover, early walker. Like I'm missing all these moments and have to like depend on my wife sending me videos of things that are happening. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should be there. But I'm working 16, 18-hour days. It's like, well, who's going to do all this stuff for my company if it's not me doing it? And so when my dad told me that, he like lovingly agitated inside of me that this has to change because I'm on board. I remember as a kid how that felt, and now I'm doing it to my family, and I'm not on board with this, but I'm working 16, 18-hour days. When am I going to figure this out? And so fast forward 2-3 years, my dad had already passed, and I'm still kind of in that hustle and work mode. And this is 2018. I'd scaled my business to $20 million that year. And, it's like I had a money printer. It's very profitable and just like profits that I'd never imagined in my life. And had you told me years prior, hey, you're going to do 20 million and it's going to be very profitable, I would have been like, oh my gosh, I made it. I'll retire shortly after that. But the reality was I was wearing so many hats. I had a team of 40 people, but everything kept, coming back up to me. I thought that I was delegating properly, but everything just kept bouncing back to me as I would assign it out. And I'd just be like, I'm just going to do it myself. It's quicker, but a new problem would come up. I'd hire for it. And now I got somebody on the payroll and I got to figure out what they're going to do. And it costs money and it's expensive and it's stressful. And again, I'm doing all the tasks myself. And so summer of 2018, I reached kind of like the peak of burnout. I'm like, I hate this business. And I don't say hate lightly. If I say it, it's because I like really hate it. Visceral feeling of disgust and anger. And I had a coach and a mentor who today is a dear friend of mine, but at the time, just like a mentor relationship. And he was in Rome, in Europe, this particular week. And he was only going to be gone a week. And he says, hey, I'll be gone. Just email me if you need anything. And so I remember like, he's gone. I'm not going to bother him. He's with his family. So I'm going to email him. And I'm like, I hate this business and I don't want it anymore. I want to sell it. Give me some ideas. Get me out of this. And I was like, but hit me when you get back next week. And then he reads it and he's in Europe. And he's like, he calls me 20 minutes later. It's like, that's an SOS kind of email. That can't wait for next week. We need to talk right now.
Yeah.
And it was a 2-hour conversation. And, to sum it up in a couple sentences, he basically said, you need to stop doing what you don't like doing and keep doing what you're good at doing and what you like doing. And I'm just like, okay, 23 years in business. And that simple phrase finally kind of made sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, teach me, master, how to do that. Because like I've been trying to do this for a long time. That phone call became the kind of the foundation or the basis of what I do now with, buying back time or, buyback time formula. That phrase wasn't even existent till years later. But we started implementing frameworks and things to like get me out from being the bottleneck to the goal was to being a founder present with my family and the business having systems and frameworks to kind of run on its own. And so the pinnacle of that was 3 years later. And it took longer because as entrepreneurs and founders, we're like, I'm the best one at doing this. And I say I don't want it, but I really do. My identity, part of my identity is like being the hero to my business and being a grinder. And so there's a bit of an identity shift that has to happen too. And plus, like, mistakes can be six-figure mistakes. Like when you're doing that kind of volume, like if you don't reconcile invoices properly and other issues of a high-scale business like I had, there's a six-figure mistake. And so there's a lot of pressure too on getting these things right, which contributes to like, well, one day the shoe's gonna drop, and so me as the owner, I have to like keep it together. But anyway, that's kind of like a fear thing that you just got to get over. And I did. It took some time. But in 2021, more than doubled the business to near $50 million. And I was like living a semi-retired lifestyle. I was working no more than 30 hours a week, focusing on what I'm best at, which is like copywriting, sales, marketing, traffic, media buying, like all the fun money-making side of online marketing, not the, administrative stuff. Super important. Somebody should do it, but it shouldn't be me. It shouldn't be the same creative brain that brings in the revenue for the company. And so, on the lifestyle side, I'm plugged in with my family. I didn't miss any of my son's games. In fact, he's homeschooled, so he travels with us, and taught him how to negotiate real estate at 8 years old.
Quick question. Is your podcast actually bringing in clients or just downloads? Those are two very different things. If you want your podcast to generate leads for your business, you need more than great content. You need a conversion strategy, which is exactly why I made the podcast conversion blueprint. With this free download, you learn how to structure your episodes, what to say in your call to action, and how to move listeners into your pipeline for your business. If you want to start growing your business with podcasting, grab the link in the show notes and download the podcast conversion blueprint today.
So basically, like that year's buying and selling houses and properties and businesses and Airbnbs. And one of the properties we went to, I had my son tell the realtor the offer that we were going to make. So I'm thinking, teachable moment here. And again, 8 years old. So I'm like, here's the price. We'll close in 30 days. Leave the furniture. That'll save us $30,000. That dock over there, that's a $50,000 dock. Leave it. In my head, I'm calculating, okay, this is like $100,000 in savings because it's going to be an Airbnb. Told my son, go. And he's like, oh, why? What does this mean? I'm like, just go and we'll debrief later. And so he goes and we got they accepted our offer, but it was fun to like have him in the mix there. And so been able to just pour a lot into my son. And when my dad said, don't miss Leo's games, of course he meant literally, but also like, just don't miss out on his life is kind of what that also means. And so my dad's biggest regret became my biggest mission, in my life. And so fast forward a couple years, kind of coming towards present day, I had a number of friends and peers in just different circles of my network. They don't really talk, but just different people that knew me. And they're like, you got to teach this stuff. And I'm like, okay, teach what? They're like, well, you're always traveling, you're making money, business is still doing well, you're with your family. Like, there's this awesome blend of business and personal that you seem to have down. The whole idea of frameworks and a process to work yourself out from being a bottleneck to do whatever you want with your time. But, I'm a family first, father first kind of guy. So my story is going to resonate with those that are like the me of 10 years ago. And my ideal customer avatar, some marketing speak there, would be cash rich, time poor. And time poor means all your time goes to your business. No time goes to your family, or whatever time goes to your family is the grumpy, upset, burned out version of that. And it's like when you can buy back your time from your business, you can do whatever you want. That's kind of how it all came together. The outcome that's possible with this is just complete, absolute freedom, more than even monetarily, although that's good too, because now when I work, I'm only focused on strategic needle moving things to increase my business, not things that just completely drown me like I used to. But like now my son has a podcast, and that's just an example of me being able to pour into him, showing him opportunities, open the door for him, and it's up to him to choose it, but he's running through that door and I'm supporting him in that. And then now I love walking alongside people, kind of like let them know that little lie that you keep hearing, that you have to control everything, that's not true. It doesn't happen by magic or wishful thinking, but there's frameworks that you can implement to free yourself up.
Yeah, well, at the start, I was like feeling the emotional, like
pull of just your dad saying that, basically as a deathbed statement. And it's such a home hitting, real moment that we could all imagine. I don't think you're alone, and maybe it's a generational thing, but there was definitely a point as a teenager where I realized that a lot of my anger toward them as my parents were because I didn't feel like they were really there. They were so focused on their business and stuff. And, I reached the point where I was like, I don't want any more crap. I want you to be here for me. And when you're not, I don't want a new TV to make me feel loved. But then the other piece that's highlighted there is this tendency to unknowingly repeat the generational cycle of whatever your experience was, even though we think we want to do things differently. But it's just natural to fall in that pattern. It's really apparent a lot of times in a money management type pattern. And I know a lot of the folks listening see that and address it often in their work. So I don't think you're alone in your experience. And I bet while you were sharing your story, a lot of folks were nodding because I bet we all had somewhat of a similar experience. The difference is that your dad recognized it, whereas I'm not sure a lot of ours did. So good for you for realizing that, noticing it, trying to actively make changes. And then there's so much there too, right? To grow a business to 20 million and then a few years later, 50 million. I mean, I think a lot of folks listening are probably thinking hello, tell me how to do that. Right? But even as just say a 6 or 7 figure founder, just scale it down just a little bit. There's absolutely that tendency to max out and burn out with your time and not even be able to get to those multi-million numbers, just because even if you're hiring, even if you're delegating, like you said, it always comes back to you unless there's a special formula that we're following. So can you tell us a little bit about how you learned to delegate? Almost what was the difference when you thought you were delegating well versus the change of actually it's not my problem anymore. It's not going to come back to me. They know everything they need to know to handle it and be responsible for the outcome.
Yeah, so just thinking back to 2018 and even years prior, I was scaling chaos. So you can handle chaos at a lower level, but as you scale it, then it's something breaks here. And so yeah, I guess my issue was that I'd always just hire out problems, and I'd sort of trust on their expertise to just handle it and fix it. And I wouldn't explain it properly. So, I accept full responsibility for that, but I would hand over the task, or I thought I was handing it over, and I'm do this, and do that without properly taking the time to break it down, explain it step by step. And yeah, they just come back with questions, and instead of, kind of walking them through the completion of it, I'm just going to do it real quick because I got a million other things to do and I don't have time to block out an hour to explain something that'll take me 10 minutes to do. So it's one of those things where, it's a little short-term sacrifice. It's not even that big of a sacrifice for a long-term gain versus just keep knocking it out. And then you train your people that you're the Mr. Fix-It guy or the Fix-It person. And it's oh yeah, they'll just do it. So they just kind of hang around for just to be on salary. And so kind of demotivates them to do their job.
Mm-hmm. And then what shifted? How did you learn to delegate well? Is there some secret tip to that? I mean, obviously SOPs are a big deal, but a lot of SOPs are not that helpful. So how do we what was the solution here?
Yeah, so one of the first things I did in 2018 was I just did what's called a freedom audit. At the time, I didn't even know what that was. And it's basically reviewing everything that you do. So what I tell people is, hey, look at your calendar for the last couple of weeks. And if you're like I was back then, I'd say, I don't really have a great calendar. It's just got a call, but I'm not saying what I'm doing. So, okay, you don't have that. So for the next week or two, at least a week. You want to document what you're doing like on an hourly basis, everything like, hey, brushing my teeth and, like everything. It'll take a couple of days and you'll start to see certain things that you're doing that you're, oh, okay, now I'm starting to get it. And these are some things that I shouldn't be doing. And what you want to do next, evaluate yourself and give yourself like a dollar value. For example, I'll just say my time's worth $1,000 per hour. So if I'm doing anything of work, I need to be making sure that it's $1,000 plus per hour value. Anything under that, I should be like outsourcing it. So for example, I was working 60 hours a week when I first did this. And I realized that 40 of those 60 hours, I was working on tasks that were $50 or less per hour. So do the math. I'm not a mathematician, but that's $2,000 for the week. So if I'm $1,000 an hour guy, I could pay $2,000 for a whole week and buy, again, not a math guy, but like over 60% of my time back that I could do whatever I want with. And now instead of before those 20 hours, which were $1,000 plus hour tasks, I'm doing it burned out, low energy, low focus, maybe even upset, maybe even sometimes extending those $40 hour tasks into 40 hour low dollar tasks into my prime stuff. Now it's 20 hours of pure focus, energy, and like being in my zone of genius. So now maybe you could argue that $1,000 an hour is now like 2, 3, 4,000 because it's more effective. So that was like the first time that my mind shifted around this whole thing. I was a believer in outsourcing prior, but again, I was just doing it wrong. Now I was like, oh my gosh, this was like mind blowing to me. Maybe people hear it and like, oh yeah, that's kind of, it makes sense. But it took me 20 something years to get it. But when I did, I went all in on it. And once I finally got something off my plate and it didn't boomerang back to me, I was hooked and I was addicted to doing this to everything I could so that I could stay focused on my zone of genius, which is, networking, making new offers, focused on marketing, basically revenue generating activities for my company and letting other people handle more admin stuff. And like you said, there is a process to doing it so that it doesn't boomerang back up to you. So again, I was the king of the boomerang. Now no more. Boomerang's down. So my way of doing it now is if there's a task that I want to outsource to somebody. Well, first, as I hire them, I've got a process where I make sure that they like read the whole application. You put little things like 4 plus 4 equals 8. Tell me this when you apply, like in the whole middle of the thing. I want to make sure they read it. I know with chat now, they're probably like just popping that thing in there and then they're going to, oh yeah, watch out for this. So, but this worked amazingly, a couple of years ago. But the part that will still work now with or without AI is that you have them do like a Loom video, and ask them personal questions to sort of see kind of how they handle and respond, certain things like, what do you like to do in your spare time? What's a favorite hobby of yours? What's your superpower? What are you afraid of? And then, you get to see the human side of them, not just this, professional, boring stuff, the like non-personality side of things. And so that's one thing. And then it also like shows that they follow instructions, which is huge. So you can do both those, then you can work with me on these tasks. So that's the first step, get people who actually follow instructions. And then the next thing is, like now with Loom or any screen share recorder, but Loom's like the flavor of the current time. You essentially record the task on Loom and be as detailed as you possibly can. And it's okay if you don't know every little intricacy. Hopefully you hired a person who could possibly improve on the process and could talk about that. But do it as best as you can, as thorough as you can. Then Loom produces a transcript. You take that transcript, you pop it in ChatGPT and you say, Chat, please make me the best SOP humanly possible. And it's going to make you this awesome SOP. Now, before you just copy it and send it over, review it to make sure, because you just did the Loom, make sure that it truly, does what you intend it to do. Take that, put it on a Google Doc so that you could update it over time in case something changes. Take the Loom video, put it there as well. And then it's like, okay, friendly outsourcer person, please watch this. I'm around for the next 30 minutes or an hour. Just watch it, and you have any questions, I'm here. And then they watch it. All right, you got it? Let's clarify this. Oh, okay, tweak it. Okay, how about now? Okay, yep, got it. All right, it's yours. You have the liberty to improve upon it. If you can, let's talk about it if and when that happens. Or if technology changes or a vendor changes, then we need to update it. But until that happens, you own it, and it's off my plate. Like, it's yours now. And I kind of created this new definition of insanity, which, as we know, it's doing something over and over and expecting a different result. But this new definition is like when you pay an outsourcer to do something and then you end up doing it yourself anyway. That's insane. And I was insane for too long. And now I'm like, no more. And so I take that philosophy with outsourcing now. And so, yeah, that's just one example of using SOPs in a proper way with proper documentation and then giving them the liberty to improve upon it. Because oftentimes, like I'd say, you know, and I might still say this current day, if I do something and I call myself 100%, like if I'm perfect, which I'm not really, but feels good to say that. And then the attitude is like, if they can just get to 80%, that's like good enough, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. But I find out that when I get out of the way, they take that thing to 120, and I'm like, why was I ever doing it to begin with? So I've seen that happen too many times to know it's not just a one-off thing. Yeah, now I'm just obsessed with outsourcing anything that doesn't move revenue for my company.
Just starting from the top of the process, I think some of the challenges there are breaking down your schedule and recognizing like which ones of these actually make me money. Like, oh, well, I think social media is important for my business, right? Because that's visibility. But then there's not money directly coming from Instagram or whatever platform you're using. And so I think even in that process, sometimes you need a coach or somebody to guide you through like, no, that doesn't make you money. These things do. Like, this is what's important. Then the next level, I think that might be a challenge to some folks is identifying the value of some of the tasks that they've identified. Like, how do you put a price tag on some of the things that you need to do, right? So a lot of their time needs to be facing others, right? So attending networking events, attending the community events, being on calls, being on Zoom, basically networking their butt off, and then following up and having calls with everyone that they met. So that right there, I could see how your schedule is just full to the brim. And to assign a value to anything in between those tasks, I think would be a challenge. So could you walk us through, like, what is the logic behind values assigned to a list of tasks? Like, are you literally like, someone without a college degree could do this, someone with a college degree could do this? Like, is there some level of tier? How do we do that?
Yeah, and I think the business owner will know most for their specific information. Just to speak for myself, and I'm sure others will relate, is I was just doing a lot of like admin related tasks. Like when you said like they're spending a lot of time networking, I think that's a valid thing to spend your time on if you're a business owner. Now that you could argue or kind of look into, am I networking with the right kind of people? And hopefully the answer is yes, but there is something you gotta like make sure you are. Because I spent time just networking with people that aren't the right ideal clients. So that's just, you know, kind of a side thing. But generally speaking, I think networking is really one of the things that the business owner should be focused on. So I would say any type of activity that doesn't contribute directly to the bottom line or that somebody else could do, that would be kind of the low-hanging fruit. Also, I know that a lot of business owners, and myself included, especially back in the day, I was joining a lot of meetings like on Zoom and that I didn't really need to be on. And especially now with the AI note takers and stuff, not that like note taker attends on your behalf and nobody else is there, but you know, you have like a number two there or something that could be there, and then you use your note taker to sort of look out for when you know you're called upon to provide something, or just to give you an overview of something. It's one of the first things that I identify when I'm working with clients. Like that right there is kind of like the low-hanging fruit, is removing from kind of like pointless meetings for them. That's kind of what my approach would be. And then as far as like determining like the dollar value of things, depends on the business owner. But for me, there was a lot of things I could find on Upwork, for example. If I just want to go virtual, there's other ways. If you want to go more local, there's headhunters and other places where you can find local help. But yeah, I would just type whatever task I'm doing in there and I'd find like the most qualified person who could do it. And you know, you could search the whole world. You're going to have your lower dollar priced in you know, like Asian countries and US. You'll find like American trained talent there, with probably more like accurate, reflective, like dollar per hour values there. So that could be a good way to sort of measure if you need some validation of, oh, what I'm doing, is it super important? And it might be yes, or it could be like, yes, it's important, but I shouldn't be doing it. So here's competent help for a fraction of what I define my time to be worth. And there's other ways to do it, but that would be kind of like my first attempt at doing it.
Okay, very, very good. And so to sum up all of this, you have a book out. It's called The Buyback Time Formula. Would you just take us behind the scenes? Because I know so many business owners are thinking like, oh, I should write a book. Like I need to establish authority. I need to get visible. I need to, put my thoughts out into the world in a written format that's permanent, like a book. So what was the thought process like for you to say, okay, now I'm teaching how to buy back your time and I have these formulas and these processes and I have so much advice from what I learned. I'm going to write a book now.
Yeah. No, it was quite the interesting journey. So I've been in direct response since the mid 90s. I started my business in 1995 when I was in high school. And so, yeah, we're coming up on 31 years, which I can't believe. But so, yeah, I'm just old school direct response marketer, put money in ads and it generates sales. And then hopefully you make more in sales than you put in ads. And that's how I feed my family, long story short. Or that's how it's been the last 30 years. And this is something completely different than what I've done prior. And my primary success online has come from in the supplement space. And there's like a wrong way or unethical way to do supplements. I was the right ethical way. I just clarify that because people might hear supplements like, oh, I wonder which side was it on. And so it was the good side.
What MLM did you do?
Yeah, exactly. Or there's these trials where, oh, it's $2.95 today, but we'll bill your credit card for eternity. And you can't ever cancel unless you like shred your card. And really it's like I imagine my grandma when she was around probably fell for a lot of that. I mean, that's just like who they try to sucker. But I was the good ones. I never did any of those tactics. And so all that said, and my products were good. I mean, I wouldn't say like amazing, life-changing, just good supplements like you buy at the store.
Good vitamins.
Yeah.
Good source.
But I never had anybody come and tell me, oh, this bottle of pills changed my life completely. And so while I can do that, it didn't feel like very fulfilling. It's just transactional kind of feeling. And I feel like I was put on this earth to have more of an impact. At the end of the day, what I'm doing with, the buyback time formula, I feel like it's like a movement and a method. And so I happen to have a book behind it, the same title. And the goal is to bring dad back home. My dad to me to my son, like it's all just woven in the story. And so the goal is to bring dad home so that the sons and daughters, instead of being raised by iPads and iPhones, they get dad in the picture and them just getting the things that they can only get from a father presence. And that'll help build like the nuclear family that builds impact and legacy, generational. Because, like you said earlier, habits from generations tend to repeat, knowing or not, but it's good to sort of be aware of it. So really it's like generational impact. Yeah, the goal is just to take someone out from being the bottleneck in their business to do whatever else that they want to do and that they're passionate about. Or I have a program where I walk through people, in a closed spaces to help them literally implement these frameworks in their business. And it's not just in their business, although we do that, but then it's also on the personal side. So I have what's called a season pass, where it's like we evaluate like what's important for your family. It's going to be the games, the recitals, the events. And if they're more like adult children, then there's other things that are going to be important. Or, maybe it's their spouse or like a date night or reconnecting and being present for that. So yeah, we figure out what's important and then we lock those events in the calendar. Just like, most business owners and founders will say they don't miss a meeting for anything. Like when it's in the calendar, it is locked in stone unless they get hit by a bus or something or there's a fire. It's like you are making that meeting, at least in my case. But when it comes to family stuff, it's like, well, I have this, but I can move that around or I can skip it because business comes first. It's like, no, that's non-negotiable. Like that's locked in stone, just like your business meetings are. The 2-week vacation test is a big part of that. My thing is if you can't step away from your business for 2 weeks, and I mean completely off the grid, then it's like you just have a well-paid job. If people are like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. How do you do that? and I'm also a little bit nervous at the same time because I can't step away for an hour, then you need this. Then that's proof that you need this. And in my own case, like I remember, like one trip flying to Europe transformation. There was like an 8-hour flight, and at the time Wi-Fi was like sometimes on flight, sometimes not, especially over the Atlantic. And yeah, I remember just freaking out, like, oh my gosh, what's gonna wait for me once I land in Paris? And yeah, we were there to go see the Eiffel Tower, but like if you'd see pictures of me next to the Eiffel Tower, I'm like this, like I'm just putting out fires, and like there's the amazing Eiffel Tower like right there next to me. Now when I travel, I phone for pictures and stuff, but I'm not putting out fires. There's no laptop joining me, and yeah, that to me is like the pinnacle of freedom when you can take a 2-week trip and nothing falls apart.
Yeah, I agree. That sounds terrible to be on an amazing European trip and then just be like glued to your phone the whole time. So your family notices, they're like, dad, pulling on your pant leg or whatever. Look at this, look at that, let's whatever. And you're too busy. So none of us want to be that parent. And I definitely think that goes back to potentially a generational thing where our parents worked so hard. And it's not to say that we're not thankful for that. We are, but there was a gap that was created because of that drive. And so now the rest of us are sitting here trying to find out how to fix that, how to reverse that, how to make it feel more balanced and be more present with our families. So you published the book, and I don't know if it was before or after, but you also have started working on a YouTube channel. And we were talking about it early. It's in the early phases of it, slow growth, long-term play there. So talk to me about your perspective on this whole online media, video forward movement that we're in right now when it comes to online business.
Well, yeah, like I said earlier, my career has been in direct response, money in, money out. And so this whole personal branding side of thing and social media is relatively new to me, so yeah, it's playing the long game with YouTube. One of the reasons that I do post daily, because like anybody could look and be like, wow, it's got a few views, but it's not like smashing servers or anything. And they might wonder, was it even worth it? And I'd say absolutely 100% it's worth it. Because one, it continues to refine your knowledge and skills about what you're talking about and presenting on a daily basis if you do it. And then the next thing is you're like leaving breadcrumbs all over the internet where you're making it easier for people to find you on all of the different topics that you might be an expert on. And so really, in my perspective, all it takes is, the right person to see it once to say, hey, that message resonated. Let me look up more information. Oh, he's got all these other videos. Let's binge watch them, for lack of a better term. And that really collapses the time frame that requires to like nurture that relationship. Because when I connect with people, they're like, yeah, I've seen like 6, 7 of your videos. Like, I love your philosophy, where you stand. What do we do now? Like, what's the next step? Whereas before, it's like, maybe I had to be introduced by somebody and have several phone calls. And this just sort of supercharges and amplifies the getting to know you, or the research side, if you have a service and offer, or, a product that you want them to consume.
So let's back up and pick something out of what you said there, is that you are posting a daily video. So clarify what that means, how long they are, how you're doing them, all of that stuff, so that folks listening really understand, like, how is this guy doing that?
Yeah, well, AI helps. AI helps with content and ideas and stuff. My big thing with AI is just don't outsource your thinking completely to it. It's good to help with ideas and brainstorm, but you don't want it to completely like take over your philosophy, your branding, whatever it is you're projecting out there. You want it to be authentically you. So assuming you're already like on board with that, then it'll provide great ideas that are in alignment with like your expertise and what you're looking to do. I just have it create like every week, it'll create like the next 5 videos to sort of like harmoniously play off of each other. They're designed to be consumed independently, but also they kind of weave in together too. So it just depends where you come in. Usually there could be as little as 3.5 minutes. Longest one might be 7, 8 minutes. And I use a tool called Gamma, which is kind of like the new PowerPoint, I guess. You still got to make sure the pictures reflect what you're saying and stuff and all that, but it literally like going from hours to do PowerPoint now. It just takes a few minutes to put it in Gamma. And then I use Loom, which we talked about earlier. It'll record it. It'll show my face. I think it's important to show your face when you're doing these videos, especially like PowerPoint style or presentation style, so that, the humanization of it, I guess, is why. And I know that, certain messages will strike certain people, and it's kind of like, just like I said, putting a lot of breadcrumbs out there. I also do a reel per day, and I post it on various socials. And again, that's similar, like a long-term play. Like my reel yesterday was about something that you just talked about, was something to the effect of like your child saying, hey, and you're like saying, oh, not right now, I'm busy or whatever. Like the theme of that video is like you're training your family to not even approach you anymore. And then your house goes quiet all of a sudden, and you're thinking, oh, it's peaceful at home, but inside they're like resentful. And it's like, because we've been trained that we can't get your attention, or when we do, it's just like, hey, you put us off aside. And so that was a theme that I just literally did. So those are the kind of videos that I do, like just short, kind of like punchy, like, hey, be careful for what you wish for. You're going all in on this, but you're neglecting this over here. Make sure there's balance.
Yeah. Okay. So let's unpack that just a little bit. You are using AI to just help generate the topics, maybe some outline, something like that from there. Then potentially moving that over into Gamma and having that create like a slideshow for you. Then hopping on and using Loom, which is like, for folks who aren't familiar, it's like a little circle where your face and your video is. And so they can see you talking and moving, but it's small. And then the majority of your presentation or your video is like a screen share of these slides that are created. And then you said, anywhere from 3 to 7 minutes, and you're doing this daily, which that makes it, based on the length and the way you're using AI and how it's just like a quick topic you can share off the top of your head, that makes that daily production feel very attainable. And to say that that's totally DIY. Like, I don't think that you're needing like to outsource production of this big thing. So that is a great way to just get started for folks if they are not ready for like a full all-in YouTube channel or podcast. If video freaks you out, using Loom might make you feel better because the majority of the screen is whatever you're sharing. And then your circle is so small, they can't really see that much detail about your background, your makeup, your hair, whatever you're worried about. So it's a great way to get information out there and start your journey, get on camera, start getting comfortable. But it's also a low lift, shall we say. So tell me about how long you've been doing it, and then how you're balancing marketing the book versus marketing through this YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I've started this back in July, so this summer, so I guess we're 5-ish months at this point. And I've been like religiously doing it because it's one of those things, you just do it consistently, and it is the long game. Like, for anybody listening, it's like, hey, you got to tell yourself this could be 6 months before like anybody really notices. But as you start generating traction in other places, it brings great credibility. And it, like I said earlier, it brings the opportunity to like shorten that trust and collapsing the time that it takes people to really get to know you. So once you start to see it work a couple of times, it sort of clicks that it's all worth it. But have that attitude that it could be 6 months before you're like, oh, wow, it's finally starting to pay off. So, and that's where most people quit. They'll do it for a couple of weeks, and then it's like they see nothing, and they're like, discouraged. So there's a level of discipline to that, but it enforces your message. It has you internalize it more. And it's a great way because, like, again, like AI can handle a lot of the heavy lifting of ideas and stuff. And this way you internalize some of those angles that you accept and you're adopting as your own. But, you got to like learn them too, assuming that they fit, your philosophy and where you want to go. So that's a great way to do it. Yeah. Don't think that you have to be perfect. Me having been in marketing for 30 plus years at this point, I can say that the message is way more important than how anything looks. And I fall guilty to this too, even with my experience at the beginning. If you see my videos, horrible. Like if I were to watch it now, I'm like, this is horrible. And the occasional one, I'll still put out one where like, oh my gosh, I was kind of dull and whatever. But it honestly doesn't matter as long as the message is solid. You know, the right people will resonate with the message, and they're not looking for, oh my gosh, he started here, or like he read the same line twice or something. Like as long as the message resonates, then I wouldn't stress about the quality. I think get it just good enough, but then don't stress beyond that. Perfect is the enemy of progress. Just get going.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so talk to me about, is the channel helping you sell books, or is the book helping you get subscribers? Which way does it go?
Yeah, I would say the channel it does push towards the book. That's the call to action. And that's my call to action and everything is like the book, because that's where it starts. And then there's other things from there too. But, you know, like full transparency on the book, like I poured my entire knowledge about frameworks in the book. So honestly, like people can get their hands on the book, and if they do what it says, they're like, I don't need to contact George because it's all in the book. And I realize it's very contrary to my sales ambitions, because this is how I want to feed my family, you know, to like, you know, bring on people that I can advise. But I also know there's going to be people that are like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, great frameworks. Help me. I have no time to do this. Because, you know, the me of 10 years ago would have paid a small fortune to shortcut to that transformation. And that's what I'm offering to help as well. But yeah, so the YouTube and a lot of the other calls to action, just go to the book, and that helps kind of brand, you know, my credibility. And really, it's just a glorified business card is what it is. I mean, I don't mean it like demean it like it's nothing. I'm saying it more in a positive way. It's just like, has elements of you know, proof why you can trust me, frameworks that actually work, and I talk about how and why they work, and then, you know, how to reach me if you need. But there's no like, if you want the top shelf secrets, you got to pay more. It's like, it's all there. And if you were to hire me, we would walk together in these frameworks that are in the book. And sure, there's probably other insights and things, and I can advise on marketing and strategy, which that's not what the book is deeply about. But yeah, all the frameworks to buying back your time are there.
Yeah. So I think what folks listening should take away then is to really ditch that fear about giving away all of your secrets in your YouTube channel, in your podcast, in your book, whatever, because I think your philosophy is just bang on that there's going to be people that read the book and implement it, and that's it. Okay, great. You got $20 out of them. Okay, who cares? Their life is better because they read that book. Awesome. You made an impact. There are going to also be people that maybe they buy the book, maybe they don't, maybe they read the book, maybe they don't have time. They're going to go immediately to go, okay, you're the expert on this. Just help me. I'm hiring you. Here's thousands of dollars. We're good. And then there's like the YouTube bingers that just want to watch one of your videos every single day. They'll probably take notes and try to implement. But across all of these mediums, and whether you get someone into your high dollar program or not, and I'm just saying high dollar, I have no clue how much your program is, but just thinking about like the majority of professionals out there, even, you know, my CPA, it's a multi-$1,000 program I'm in because she helps me all year. It's not just, oh, she did my taxes and we don't talk. It's a process and a program. So most folks listening probably have something like that where it is several $1,000s. And whether they join that or not, the information that you put out there made an impact. And either way, it's attracting people to your name, your brand, your book, your message, your perspective. And even if they don't buy your program because they implemented your book, they're probably going to talk about you to someone else. And that is the virality that we're all wishing for. So I think it was not said from your perspective as advice, but that is the advice that I think everyone should take from this episode, in addition to all the tips that you shared with us about buying back our time. So before you go, share with us about the buyback time formula and your YouTube channel, you know, all these places. Like, where do we find you? Where do we find the book?
So my socials and stuff are on my website, buybacktimeformula.com. There you'll see, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, TikTok. Yes, I have a TikTok. I don't know. It's just, yeah. And so I'm not super active there, but, you're obligated to have all of them. So I think. And then for the book, it's buybacktimeformula.com/Virginia for listeners of Virginia's show. And there you can grab the book. I got some other freebies and goodies there, just so you can get to know me and kind of like, hey, I kind of like this guy's philosophy. And yeah, you're 100% right on the information, because now information's free. You can get that from anywhere. It's the implementation where people, that's what they'll pay for if they need it, the implementation and accountability. But information's everywhere. It's free. Let's not hold back our good stuff. And like you said, they use it, they succeed, they're talking about you, and it'll come back around in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, George, for being here today.
Thank you, Virginia. It's been fun.
Thanks so much for listening to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. If you want your show to do more than just educate, if you want it to generate leads and bring in clients consistently for the long haul, make sure you're using the Podcast Conversion Blueprint. This free download helps you structure your podcast to attract new listeners, refine your messaging to nurture them, and capture those listeners when they're ready as your next best clients. And of course, practicing what I preach when you sign up for your free download of the Podcast Conversion Blueprint, you're going to land on my email list. Hit reply to any newsletter because I'd love to learn about your show or about your ideas for a show. I'll point you toward your next best step, whether that be light support like an audit of your show or becoming a member of the Academy, or maybe you need full service strategy and accountability like what I do inside the Podcast Conversion Lab. Thanks again for listening to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. If you enjoyed today's episode, stick around for the next few episodes because each one incrementally helps you improve your podcast.